Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. Welcome back. I am Krysti Rosario. This is episode number Lucky 13. I'm here with Richard, the boxing prophet Solomon. Hey, Richard.
How are you doing, Krysti?
Good. How are you?
Great. Looking forward to another great show.
I thought for a second, I didn't call you the prophet, so I thought, oh, my God, he didn't know what I was talking about. But you answer for anything, don't you?
I answer to anything and everything.
Anything and everything. Well, great. We have a really good show coming up today. I just want to let you all know that you can call area code 347-324-5998. You can find us on Twitter at Real Combat Media. Facebook, just put in the search bar, Real Combat Media. And you can just go www.realcombatmedia.com. And looking forward to this show. We are supposed to have Lucia Rijker on and Diana Prazak, but for some reason, LA traffic and everything else, I haven't heard from them yet. So we are going to step it up and do some interesting things with the Prophet as far as news. We have some headlines, don't we, Prophet, today? What about, I know you wanted to talk about, we have... what about our heavyweights, Hay and Char not fighting? What do you think of that?
Well, the fight's canceled. David Hay has a hand injury, and I was looking forward to seeing his much-anticipated return. A lot of people, including myself and boxing fans around the world, thought he had a legitimate shot of beating the younger Klitschko, Vladimir Klitschko, when they fought. And he kind of embarrassed himself, stunk out the joint. Klitschko dominated the fight, won 10 out of the 12 rounds. And you never thought you were going to hear from David Hay again. But in his fight since losing to Klitschko, he absolutely dominated Chisora, knocked him out inside rounds, and reestablished himself as one of the top 3 or 4 heavyweights in the world. And now he had a chance to fight Char, whose only loss was to the older Klitschko brother. Vladimir Klitschko embarrassed Char, knocked him out in 4 one-sided rounds, and it was kind of a crossroads fight. Char against Hay. Both have losses to one of the Klitschko brothers, and the winner of that fight probably puts themselves in line for a shot at the heavyweight title somewhere down the road. I don't think that the fans would anticipate Hay fighting the younger Klitschko brother, Vladimir, anytime soon, since he was embarrassed in the first fight. So maybe if he would have disposed of Char in relatively easy fashion, you can make a case for Hay fighting Vitaly Klitschko. And truth be told, Vitaly is old, doesn't have the best knees in the world. He's getting up there. He's talking about retiring. Maybe he only has 1 or 2 good fights in him. So maybe David Hay has a shot against Vitaly Klitschko. Of course, Vitaly, as most people know, at least in my opinion, hits harder than Vladimir Klitschko. Yeah, he's more of a puncher than the younger Klitschko brother. So it would have been interesting to see that the fight's been postponed. I don't know when the fight is rescheduled for, but I kind of like David Haye big in that fight. I think he dominates Char, and he looks to make a statement. When the fight happens, I think he'll stop Char within 8 rounds because he really needs to make a statement and prove, I guess, to the world that he deserves another shot at the heavyweight title.
Okay, so you think Char is going to stop him within 8 rounds. Is that your prediction?
I think Haye is going to stop Char inside.
Oh, you think Haye is going to stop Char? Okay. I thought I heard different. All right, you better say that again because you don't want people confused when they go to the bets, for your predictions.
Yes, I like David. I think David Haye's at the point of his
wait
career.
Forward. Practice being on the balls of your feet.
Yeah, I think David Haye's at the stage of his career where every fight he needs to make a statement, and I think he will. I think he'll stop Char in 8 rounds.
Okay, well, you heard it here from our boxing prophet, and we are lucky enough to track down Lucia Rijker, who was at the gym. Lucia, are you there?
Yeah, I'm at Trinity Boxing right now. We ran a little over time. I'm so sorry. We're filming.
Lucia made me sweat here because I'm like, what is happening? We have to have her on the show. Well, I'm so glad you came. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Pretty good?
We're still working, so Diane's doing her standing meditation.
Oh, okay. Yep. With you, it's mind and body, right? It's not just the body.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. So we have.
Yes.
Let me just tell everyone, for those who don't know, I don't think there's very many out there that don't know this, but Lucia Rijker, light welterweight, her boxing career, she won 17 with 14 KOs, never had a loss. She tried to fight everybody that she could and unfortunately got ducked a little too many times. But before that, her kickboxing career was illustrious as well with, and tell me if I'm wrong, 36 wins with 25 KOs. Is that correct, Lucia?
Yeah, that's correct.
With 4 different titles. It almost looking at your records and, knowing about you for years, it's almost like you were in the right time for kickboxing with all the fighters that you got to fight. But with boxing, do you feel that you were kind of maybe a little premature? Like maybe it would be great if you could have started now?
I can't change the past. It is what it is. I'm born at the perfect age, at the perfect time, with, the perfect time era. I'm a trailblazer, so I'd like to be one of the first to create things, which I did. So I think it was the perfect time. I just did an interview for an MMA magazine or online magazine, and they asked that if I would have, been in my prime, if I would have done MMA. I said, well, I have a blue belt in Japanese jiu-jitsu and a black belt Kyokushin. I said, so it would have been perfect in my days, but I wasn't born in this era. I was born in that era, which means I was a trailblazer, which I'm happy that I was, because I was able to market women's boxing to young women, was able to be part of making history, making women's boxing become an Olympic sport. So I'm really happy with that. I can't look at what I could have, should have. If I look at what has been and what I did do, and I'm really proud that I was part of that.
Definitely a pioneer, and I was boxing about the same time. No, actually, you started before me, but I always heard about you, and then I got to meet you. And not only are you a fantastic fighter, but you've always. What I like is that, like right now, you're training, but you train the mind and the body, opposed to just getting out there and training the body. Do you want to talk a little bit about your philosophy as far as mind and body?
Well, the 3 aspects of combat is the mind, body, and the spirit. And if you only train the body, come on, sorry, my dog's barking. If you only train the body, you limit yourself because you don't go in the ring with your body. You go in the ring with your mind, your body, and your spirit. So if you don't align all 3 of them, you're missing out. You're missing out, and people who only train their body are missing out. I know the mental aspect is really important, or else you can't even step through the ring. But as you know, if you don't master the mental aspect, you're only getting so far. And then when you're on the top, like look at the Pacquiao, that man is devoted to God. He and Neiva Marquez is. So spirituality is a big aspect of being a champion. And especially when you go to the top, those things will set you apart from others.
Well,
the mind and the body get, yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to kind of continue on this and say, after you stopped boxing, you said you did it 2 years as life coaching. Is this where
Yes.
you kind of started formulating all these ideas for yourself?
No, when I noticed in myself that I had a need to fight every 3 months or else I was going to go crazy. Like if I didn't fight every 3 months, I get this anxiety and this restlessness that I had to fight. And then I started writing my journal and analyzing, why do I have the need to fight every 3 months? What is that within me that needs to get in the ring every 3 months? And then as I wrote my journal, I started to develop self-knowledge, and then I realized, like, wow, what drives me into the ring? And then besides that, if I know what is my drive, then also when I retire, it'll be easier for me, or else I'm just pulled by this invisible force or invisible drive. And what if I retire? Where am I going to go with this drive then? So I just started self-analysis and understanding my mind. Why did I, if I was injured or couldn't train, why did I gain weight and eat more than maybe my body needed? Why do most fighters gain weight in between fights besides that they fight under their natural weight? Also, most of them develop a food disorder as they're, making boxing their profession. I start to analyze that, like why do I eat when I'm not hungry? What does food give me besides fuel for my training? It also tastes like a comfort. And the moment that I analyzed that gave me power. Knowledge is power. And there, ever since I was a kid, I was always curious, like why does this happen, and why do some people die young, and why are some people poor? Same type of curiosity into my fight career, and I always ask myself why do I do this, and why do fighters do that, and why do fighters end up being alcoholics or destructive after their career? And I wondered when I go to the Hall of Fame and I saw these once great athletes now being self-destructive, alcoholics or really troubled. I remember the first time I went to the Hall of Fame, I came home and I cried all night because of what I saw. I saw these really wonderful athletes that now after their career felt like they were worthless, right? Because as you're building confidence based on your performance only, you don't build self-esteem. Self-esteem is based on other principles, which are more spiritual principles. So if you build your career, your confidence based on performance only, and once you stop performing a particular way, or once you stop performing, period, in that particular field, you're going to have no self-esteem because you never build it, and you're not going to have self-confidence either. So if you don't have self-esteem and you don't no longer have self-confidence because that was just based on your performance only, then what you need to do is you need to shift your focus to a new thing where you can build self-confidence, right? Something that you can be proud of. But what happens once you're a master at one, you're going to have to learn to fail again in a new era, which most people have a hard time with, especially when you build your ego into a great champion. Who wants to do something that you're not good at and start up? So
right.
That's why I really recommend building self-esteem, which are based on spiritual principles, not on accomplishments, not on external things, but on knowing who you truly are. And unfortunately, most fighters only build their confidence on accomplishments only. That's why most fighters keep making comebacks, because they're lost. They don't know who they are. They go to alcohol or drugs or destructive relationships or something that makes them feel alive again, because boxing makes them feel alive, because it's a challenging sport, not like any other sport, maybe next to MMA, like a gladiator sport. People forget to build self-esteem, and unfortunately that's what gets most fighters into trouble afterwards.
So, Lucia, this is where we were talking the other day about, you were saying, loss of identity after retirement. This is what is happening. And now, is this what you think is happening to, let's say, James Toney, who keeps fighting, Shane Mosley, who has a fight coming up?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. Sometimes it's financially driven. Sometimes fighters don't know how to manage their money well. They might have a poverty mentality. What I mean by that is you don't need to be a fighter to have a poverty mentality. You can be, in your bank account, a very wealthy man, but still have a poverty mentality. A poverty mentality means that there's not enough. $1 million is not enough, but $100 million might not be enough, right? So if you don't change your mentality, then even the $100 million will not make you happy. It's constantly needing more to satisfy you, okay? So when you come from poverty and you make a lot of money, but you don't value the money, you blow the money, right? You're going to start to buy your friends, impress your environment, look at me, look at me, look at my cars, right? Based on stuff only. So you take the stuff away, again, you take the self-confidence and the identity away, which means if you don't build self-esteem, you're going to fall apart. So James Stoney is a very, very gifted athlete, was a very gifted athlete, is a very gifted man. And it hurts my heart that he's still fighting. And most of the time, history shows that great fighters, until they get humiliated in the ring, they will continue to fight. They still think, I got one more in me, I got one more in me. And sometimes it's money-driven. Hey, I want to buy this thing. Oh, hey, I'm running out of cash, and I don't know another way to make money. Let me get another fight.
And is this what you think with Shane Mosley as well, or do you think this is a different situation than James Toney?
Well, I know what I know of Shane, of course, because I'm an outsider. I never know what's really happening on the inside, is that Shane's been boxing since he was a kid. So what I assume is that Shane built his self-confidence on his performances only. So if I project my own experience onto Sugar Shane, it's after a couple of months, you don't know what to do with yourself. It's like, well, you start a business, you start this, but nothing will give you the same fulfilling feeling as the thrill of combat and being a gladiator. Besides that, sometimes we pick partners that we impress with our status only. So when the status gets less, pillar, and for some men, that's like when they have a lot of money, they have the most beautiful women, and then the moment the money gets less, they start to doubt themselves. And sometimes the women leave when the money gets less. Right? But if you start relationships based on who you are, then that problem won't happen. Then when shit hits the fan, you're in an authentic relationship, not based on your stuff, but based on who you truly are. So, again, I can't fill in for other people why they are where they are. I can only speak for myself, what I have analyzed for not just fighters, but business people. I speak for corporations, for CEOs, especially around the crisis. I spoke for them because they attached themselves to their accomplishments, which meant the market changes, which means you don't have that much power based on external stuff anymore. What do you do then? Who are you then? And those things are important, and especially for fighters, but for everyone who identifies with stuff. Like if you're a beautiful woman and you are sexy, right, then you hit your 40s and 45, and then if you still base your self-confidence on your looks, you're going to go to plastic surgery. You're going to have to lift your tits. You're going to have to lift your face because you only think you're worthy when you look hot, right? And then you have a husband that only relates to you and your hot body, then he either trades you in or you're going to try to keep up. So you're going to start to get insecure after a certain age. But if you build self-esteem and you build an authentic relationship based on who you truly are, then when the physical stuff goes, or when the power of your husband based on his accomplishments or his money only or his wealth goes, you still have a relationship. And most people, it's just based on the look or the power, which means you always have to look good and sexy and hot, which is impossible for any woman because we're getting older. And for men, they'll do whatever they can, even if that means ruining this planet, right, to keep their power. So it's a destructive force for everyone to base your confidence on your accomplishments only. That's why it's so important for everyone to build self-esteem underneath gathering material stuff, status, ranks, and money.
Well, my recommendation is for anybody that is thinking of stopping any competition to use you as a life coach. Are you open for that?
Absolutely. Well, I think it is my specialty because I definitely analyzed it, and I think my life's going well, and I'm a pretty balanced and an accomplished person, and I'm humbled because the thing is with boxing, too, you build a false sense of self based on marketing, right? You're the greatest fighter, you're the greatest. There's always someone better, but you're the greatest, until you're no longer the greatest, right? At some point, no matter how good you are, you're no longer the greatest. There's someone else. that is the greatest now, today. Somebody taking your place. So, again, look at Pacquiao. He's building his self-esteem now based on his spiritual beliefs and what he does for the community and what he does towards the God he believes in, which gives him power, is money. Because the money was making him a gambler and a drinker, and that was all a false sense of self, and it was destroying him. So when he retires, he has something to fall back on to create value with and to fill himself up with next to the combat, because he's already in transition. Most fighters don't do that. And I really recommend that. And again, there is no rehab for fighters, which maybe there should be, but I definitely recommend life coaching or some type of coaching to transition into being a normal human being, which we'll never be, but at least to try to be close to that.
Well, very good points. I definitely recommend that. I know I could have used some life coaching, and I wanted to touch on one little thing that you said back because it was very important regarding food. And people don't realize that men and women can have these eating disorders, and when you're in a sport that you have to weigh in, it is hard. I went from my natural weight of 145 to 150 to 132, which was crazy. And like you were saying, it's like a comfort. Like I would wake up in the middle of the night craving, but if I had one bite, I would binge. I would obsess.
Well, the thing is, you develop a wrong relationship with food. The deprivation, first of all, creates a wrong relationship with food. That's one. So you're depriving your body of its basic needs, and that's where it starts. Then you develop a wrong relationship with food. Next to that, the pressure of fighting, and fighting itself is traumatic. Okay, so after the fight, you're traumatized on a certain level, right? On a deeper level, you have trauma in you, and you want to comfort yourself. And because we build this ego that we're tough, congratulations, good win, But inside, you might have been terrified during that fight. So you're overcompensating besides the deprivation on a nutritional level, you stuff your face, but also on a nurturing level, on a loving level. And most people, I was raised like, if I was crying, here, have some ice cream. If I was sad, here, have some food. So I build a relationship with food to comfort me. So besides that, your malnutrition after a fight, when you dehydrate yourself and you deprive yourself, you need comfort, double comfort from the food, but also your body needs the nutrients. But most of the time we crave carbs and sugars, which are addictive and really bad for your body and your mind.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was telling you how I crave chocolate. And what did you recommend for me? What did you say?
Cacao beans.
Cacao beans. Yeah.
Yeah. Cacao beans don't have dairy in it. They don't have sugar in it, but they have a nutritional value, and they have the caffeine in it. That doesn't make you jittery. That doesn't make you not sleep, but it still gives you that same feeling that, regular chocolate will give you. So there are other ways to eat that can give you comfort and that has a nutritional value that actually provides nutrients for your body. And when you provide nutrients, your body will be satisfied. If you provide empty calories, your body's going to crave more food. Even though you're full, your body's still like, I just feel like eating something. Because it wasn't satisfied on a deeper level. Like those things are important. And again, I recommend to stop all white sugar, period. And complex carbohydrates are not good for you. Brown rice is good for you, sweet potato is good for you. But anything else that holds sugars in it and artificial flavors and that is packed in a package that you can buy in the store, don't eat it.
So no more dairy milk, Cadbury bars, I guess, huh?
Yeah, and it's all addictive, so it's not easy. It takes about 6 weeks to clean your palates of your tongue so that actually when you eat a tomato or a strawberry that you actually enjoy it, because we are so spoiled with these artificial flavors that if we eat something natural, we don't like it at first. We're like, ugh, I want something stimulating because that's what we used to. We go to the Doritos and the all the other processed food.
Yes.
Yeah. For anyone, if you want to watch movies, if you watch Lincoln talks about all the chicken and how they're being treated and how we treat our animals and what's in it. So on that note, just from a humanitarian perspective, besides the hormones they put in it. Then there's another movie called Forks Over Knives that talks about diseases such as high blood pressure, heart diseases, and diabetes based on. So for after your fight, to have a healthy, balanced diet, it's good to start now while you're competing. Start to shift your diet now. That's what I think.
Very good advice. I'm going to have to work on that. That's a hard one. This processed sugar, junky food is just my downfall. So
you know what you can do? You can start one thing today, like one thing you want to let go of today. You know, it's one thing. If you have 5 cups of coffee, try 1 cup a day. If you have dessert every evening, try only dessert in the weekend. Or try to have a soy dessert, or try to have 1 scoop of ice cream instead of the whole jar. You know,
the whole gallon.
Yeah.
You
know, you can start with one thing today. It doesn't need to be all or nothing.
Well, let me ask Prophet there. He's been so quiet. Prophet, are you over there?
Oh, so sorry.
It's okay, Prophet. All right. Well, what do you think of all this? About how's your diet?
I'm going through what you call a midlife crisis. I'll be 45 in November, and the cholesterol level's a little bit high, but since I started taking boxing lessons, oddly enough, once a week, I go to the gym, take my cholesterol medication. I went down from 227 all the way down to 197. So that's pretty impressive.
Wow.
I'm impressed, Prophet. Good job.
You know, like a simple adjustment. If people start walking half an hour every evening and leave out gluten, dairy, and sugar, or one of those 3, I guarantee you that they will drop weight every week. Half an hour walk, just a regular walk. You don't need to immediately get into like a boot camp or intense boxing class. Just half an hour walking in the evening and letting go of one of these 3, if not all 3, gluten, dairy, or sugar. Then already you'll be dropping weight.
All right. Well, you know what? We need to go to a commercial, but Lucia, can you hang on? Or is
Yeah.
Okay. And what about Diana? Is she still training, or will she be able to come on? Okay.
Diana can come on in 3 minutes.
Oh, in 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So you stay on.
Go to your phone.
I'll go to a commercial. Then we'll come back, and I know Prophet's going to want to ask you questions, and I want to talk about your training, Diana Prazak. I want to get into that.
Yes.
And if anyone wants to call, you can call at 347-324-5998. We'd love to hear from you. All right, hold on just a moment.
All right.
This is Real Combat Media Radio. Check us out at realcombatmedia.com. While you're there, check out the Feed the Poor link on the bottom of every article, and you can send a donation if you're interested. That is, once again, on the bottom of every article as well as on the top of the website. If you are an MMA, boxing, or fitness business and interested in sponsoring our website or radio podcast, send us an email. Advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Once again, that is advertisemedia.com. Make sure to check out the Real Combat Media MMA and boxing store at the top of the menu at realcombatmedia.com. We carry a collection of products. We have the Cardio Mask, which is excellent for all fighters, endurance athletes, and serious fitness enthusiasts. Once you are in the Real Combat Media store, click on the banner on that page. We also carry Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a great and natural product which activates your brain's neurotransmitters and helps you think more clearly, which improves brain function. You can also purchase the world's healthiest plant protein, which comes from hemp. There are many other products online on the online store, and click on the On It banner at the Real Combat Media store, and you can purchase Alpha Brain and other health products. Use the discount code Real Combat Media, and you will receive 10% off at the checkout store on the On It. That is ONNIT on the banner at Real Combat Media store. Buckle up. Here we go. Let's get this show started.
Hey, and welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio, episode 13. My name is Krysti Rosario, and I have Richard Solomon, the boxing prophet, and Lucia Rijker. I'm very excited that she's here today. Has been talking all about nutrition, about the mind and body when you train, and hopefully now we'll get into talking with Diana when we get her on the phone. Are you there, Lucia? Oh, let's see what happens. Me and the technical aspect of this. All right, Lucia, you're back?
Yeah, Diane's on too.
Oh, good.
Yes, sir.
You're there, Diane?
Yeah, I'm here. How you going?
Oh, excellent, excellent. Let me hear the accent. This is Diana Prazak.
I have an accent? I don't have an accent.
Oh, that's true. I have an accent, right?
Yeah.
Nice to have you on today. Thank you for, I guess you're in the middle of training, huh?
Yeah, we've just finished now, but it's my pleasure.
Oh, awesome. I'm so excited because you just got done fighting with Holly Holmes, right, who just retired, right?
Yeah, that's right. We fought her in December.
In December, and now you're training for Frida Wahlberg, who is quite awesome herself.
That's true. Yep.
So we're doing the super flyweight. You're going to go for the WBC female super featherweight title as well as the WIBA Women's International Boxing Association super featherweight title. That's a mouthful. That's your title, right?
That's my title, and she is the WBC. So the winner takes all.
The winner takes all. And now you're back down to your weight, right? With Holly, you went up about 1 or 2 weight classes, didn't you?
Yeah, we went up 3 weight classes with Holly, and now we're back at the super featherweight, which is my weight class.
Do you feel better?
Definitely, yeah. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Definitely. All right, so now let me just say that you have won 11 with 7 KOs, and you have 2 losses, and now you get to go for a title, for 2 titles, at once. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's always good to defend your own tree. Go for another one at the same time is even better.
Excellent. And I want to say that Lucia is training Diana, right? Lucia, how's that going? Did Lucia disappear with her dog, or is she still there?
No, she's here. She's here on my back, but go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying that how is the training going with Diana?
Yeah, we're working hard. We filmed Stockholm, Sweden. He was here today to film something, and we're on track. So we're working hard. It's going to be, one of the most challenging fights for Diane because she's going to have to claim the 130 division, which is her division. So this, and still we're going to the hometown of this girl, the favorite girl, just like we did with Holly. So we have a disadvantage, but again, Diane's a really powerful fighter, so we're going to have to knock this girl out.
So is that your prediction, that she's going to just knock her out?
Yeah, we're going to have to. That's how, that's the only choice. When you go to someone else's hometown and they're the favorite, look at Holly. Diane dropped Holly on a jab in the first or the second round, and then Holly started holding on to Diane. Well, I think Holly was at least 15 pounds bigger in muscle mass. So that made it hard for Diane to, keep the pressure on her the way we wanted to because the weight was a big issue. However, they tried to knock Diane out, and no chance. Diane was really powerful all 10 rounds. So, now we're going in the 130 division, and so we're gonna have to blast in there, and Diane's gonna prove that she's the champ.
And what do you think about how Holly pretty much 98% of the time fights in New Mexico? Do you think that makes a difference for her?
Well, let me tell you something. When you fight in altitude that high, it's about 7,000 something feet or 69 something. There is a big difference. The first round, you see the girls that go in the first round, you see them go like, which means they can barely breathe. Boxing is a very mental sport, so when you can barely breathe, it's going to get to your head. It's going to make you unfocused. You can only imagine when you go 10 rounds like that, right? So there are mountains in New Mexico that are 11,000 feet, okay? So when you live in New Mexico and you go even higher than that, which is what Holly does to get ready for a fight, and Holly is a runner, so she basically runs on lungs only. So if you come in from sea level and you fight Holly on 7,000 feet, a runner, like if Holly was a slugger, you still have a chance, but a runner like that, your chances are very little. Besides that the referee doesn't interfere if she holds on to you for dear life like she's in an MMA fight, which she did with Diane, no one says anything. Besides that, we fought with 8-ounce gloves, which is unheard of in the 140 weight division. So because they wanted to knock Diane out, which is impossible. You can't knock Diane out, but they thought they could, even though they had a 15-pound weight difference advantage on us. So yeah,
pounds.
I definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, think that of course Holly fights in her hometown because it's set up like that, and I totally understand the business aspect of it, and they're paying good money to bring the girls into New Mexico. But again, if they bring Holly off the mountain, she still has the benefit she trains on the mountain. But the thing is, if she has other referees and judges, that'll be a benefit, because any fighter that holds on like Holly Holmes does should get a warning, if not point deducted, every freaking round when she does that. And they don't do that in New Mexico.
So that's another benefit of boxing in your hometown, I guess, huh? So
yeah,
okay.
It's nothing new. If you go to France, like in my kickbox career, when we go to France, you can't win a fight unless you knock them out. They will not give you a decision. So unfortunately, boxing is one of the few sports, and we saw it in the Olympics, that sometimes referees and judges judge a different fight, right? So any other sport you can measure, but in boxing, somehow there's still room for, injustice, so to speak.
Right. Well, judges and referees, we are all human beings, so just don't put us all together because everyone does different. No, I know, but I understand. Sometimes people.
I'm not blaming the judges or the referees. There is room. There is room for opinion in the scoring. Is what I'm saying. In any other sport, there is a camera. There is a censor. There was this guy from the Netherlands. He had the same finished on the third. He ended third. Okay, which means bronze. And then they went to the photo finish, and the photo finish said that they crossed the line at the exact same time. So they had a censor and a photo that could show that they had a shared third place. We don't have that in boxing.
Right.
So that's what I mean to say, that there is no way to really score the fights besides the eyes of the judges.
Yeah, no, I know it's hard. I've often thought, I wish it was like fencing, where each punch triggered and you could see exactly what was happening. Take out the human element.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't. And Diana, so you feel good? How was it training with Lucia? Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I've been training with Lucia now for the last year and a half since I moved to LA, and it's the best move I've made in my boxing career. When you fight with a fighter that was like the best, first woman inducted into the Hall of Fame, and not to do with that as well, she's a great trainer, and for me it's like we work together, and let's hope I can bring that into the fight. That's the plan.
Yeah, I'm sure. Lucia, bless you. Is someone sneezing, or what does that sound?
Oh, we're in
a gym.
Boxing gym.
Oh, I kept hearing. I thought it was like sneezing. Oh, someone's hitting the bag. Okay, well, it's authentic, guys. They're hitting the bag, so don't complain. Oh, my gosh. Well, I've heard of Frida Wahlberg for a long time. She's like the Swiss Miss of Sweden with a amateur career of 48 wins out of 53 bouts. Is that intimidating at all for you?
No, it doesn't intimidate me even a little bit, actually. Amateur boxing and professional boxing are two completely different sports. And she's performed well in her professional career as well. She's undefeated with 11 fights. That's true, 11 with 2 KOs. That's right. Yeah, and in my weight division, weight 130, I'm undefeated as well. We're gonna. I don't even think about her amateur career, to be honest. It means to me that she's a point scorer who can move off. I'm not looking at scoring any points when we step in the ring with her next month. So
that's right. Lucia said it's going to be a knockout.
Well, we know that's what we need to do to win this fight, and that's exactly what we're going in there to do.
Profit.
No
what
different
do you think?
than that.
You have anything to ask of Lucia or Diana?
Yeah, quick question, Diana.
Oh, we have the boxing prophet here.
How are you, Diana? Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, no problem.
First, let me say that I admire you in more ways than you think. Not too many fighters. You know, you went all the way up, jumped up to 140 pounds, like Krysti said at the beginning of the interview. Fought Holly Holm in her backyard, put up a valiant effort, and now you're moving back to your natural weight, and you're facing Frida Wahlberg, and these are two of the best, female fighters around. I noticed that Frida doesn't have any knockouts at all. She's basically, like you alluded to, she'll throw out her jabs, she'll move side to side. She doesn't have much power. I take it your plan, like Lucia said, is maybe to walk her down, go to the body, wear her down, and score the knockout, because something tells me unless you drop her via a knockout or the referee stops the fight via TKO, it's very, very hard to get a decision, especially in Sweden.
Well, I say it's a pretty fair statement to make that it will be hard to get a decision if it goes to the cards at the end of the fight.
Diana, it's hard to hear you right now.
Exactly what Sorry?
It's just hard. You sound far away and kind of like you're underwater right now.
Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Let me try to fix that for you.
Thank you. It's hard when, we're talking different places, different things are happening.
Can you hear me a bit better now?
Much better. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just walking outside.
Thank you.
But yeah, like I was saying that we know if it goes to a decision, if it goes to the cards at the end of the fight, we know our chances. That changes our chances dramatically. And we're not planning to do that without. I don't know what our set game plan is going to be for this fight. I mean, that's something Lucia and I will talk about closer to the fight, and in the lead up to it. But without a world title, she doesn't want to lose her world title. We both want that top ranking, and we both want to unify the division. So that's my plan, is to do that. We're going to go in there and we're looking for an offer, and we're going to work towards that.
Anything else, Prophet, you want to ask Lucia or Diana?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Lucia a quick question.
You sound far away too.
I don't know.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, can you? Are you on speaker? You sound far away, Richard.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Is Lucia available?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hi, Lucia. I'm a big fan of yours, and I just wanted to touch on your boxing career real quickly. You were undefeated as a kickboxer and as a professional boxer, and back on July 30th, 2005. It was supposed to be, your career-defining fight against Krysti Martin. Bob Arum had said that you and Krysti both were to receive $250,000 in cash, with the winner getting an extra $750,000. But before the fight, I believe you ruptured an Achilles tendon while training for the fight, and it never materialized. Can you basically, just tell your fans listening whatever happened with the fight? Did you ever try and reschedule the fight, and whatever happened? Because that was a fight to me that definitely would have transcended the sport of female. You know it today.
Yes. What can I say? I could have and I should have. I ruptured my Achilles tendon 11 days out of the fight, and that basically, that stopped the fight from happening, and then there was no rescheduling because the promoter said that he lost the momentum, because it took me about 6 months to recoup. I had to learn how to walk again. So he said that because he ruptured his own Achilles tendon, so he knew how long the recovery would take, and he basically said he lost the momentum, so he wasn't willing to put the fight up again. What can I say? It was the saddest thing in probably, I want to almost say, history of sports, but I've seen some other cool things too in the Olympics with a skater that was winning. He was winning gold, but his coach sent him into the wrong lane, and then he didn't win anything. So that was tragic too. But
that's devastating.
In this case, yeah, it was definitely devastating. And in this case, it was, what can I say? Things happen for a reason. So God knows what would have happened in the fight. I had a lot of pent up stuff that I wanted to project onto Krysti, and it's not worth like hurting someone in a way that I had in mind for her, so to speak. So who knows what she was protected from, you know?
That's a good point.
And
God interfered. He took me out by my Achilles tendon, literally, because he had other plans for me.
Well, for what it's worth, being the boxing prophet that I am, I predicted you by a relatively easy knockout. A lot of people thought that, because Krysti Martin back then was kind of the poster girl for women's boxing, I picked you. I thought you would have knocked her out, but another reason why...
It wouldn't have gone longer than 2 rounds.
I think you would have stopped her inside of 5. I think you were too powerful for her. Another reason why I admire you so much, life coach, boxer, kickboxer. You also appeared in a boxing movie that, as we all know, won the Academy Award for Best Film back in 2004. One of my favorite movies of all time, legendary Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby, where you played one of the meanest fighters I've ever seen. A lot of people say Mr. T was mean in Rocky III with his vicious portrayal of Clubber Lang. Tell all your fans, how mean were you when you played Billy the Blue Bear in $1 Million Baby? I almost cringed when you knocked out poor Hillary Swank with that illegal right hand. Can you tell the world how it felt to play such a villain in an Academy Award-winning film?
Well, that film was a reward on all those years of hard work. That's how I felt. It gave me the recognition that I fought for in the ring, but maybe didn't get in the ring as much. It was an honor to be part of a movie that featured a female fighter. It was an honor to train Hillary Swank. It was an honor to do the coordinating of the film, of the boxing part. It was an honor to work with a great man that honors women and honors powerful women and wanted to tell a story of an underdog. So that was very rewarding to be part of that film. And, that scene, that anger scene was it's just my bad side. You don't want to get on my bad side, that's all.
So, Lucia, is it really there? Do you really have that bad side?
What? I'll answer that one.
Does she really have the bad side, Diana? Tell us.
Well, no, she's like perfect all over. There's no bad side. That's I'm not being sarcastic at all there.
There's no bad side. Wow, Lucia, are you close to perfect in Diana's eyes?
No, I'm so not. No, I'm a very demanding trainer, and that can sometimes get to my students. I want excellence, and even though you're improving, that I'm not a babysitter. I'm not going to compliment you and give you applause when you improve, because improving is part of your work. So I'm a demanding coach because I was really demanding of myself as a fighter. And I think only when you demand, you'll bring out the best in a person, not with just compliments and babysitting. It's a tough sport. The good will be selected from the not so good because only the strong survive. So that's how I look at boxing as a sport.
It has been such a pleasure. Do either of you have anything to say? Sponsors, you have anything you'd like to talk about before we go?
We don't have any sponsors, so there's no one to thank. We're doing all this on our own.
Okay.
But just looking forward to putting on a good show and looking forward to bringing back 2 titles back to LA and to my people of Australia.
Okay, what about you, Lucia? You have anybody that you want to shout out to? You guys have anything that you want to talk about before we go?
Yeah, I just want to encourage all the new generation female fighters to be your greatest, to keep at it, to aim for Brazil, the Olympics, and shine like a star, and bring women's boxing to another level. I want to talk to all the professional female boxers in America and the promoters in America to put the money in the women, because the future is in the women, and I don't see enough female professional boxing in America. We're moving to Europe and to Canada and to Mexico, but I don't see enough female power besides MMA, that's where the female power is right now. I don't see enough female power in women's boxing, like Lucia Shields, for example. When I came back from the Olympics, they asked me to do the stunt coordinating and to train an actress in India for the Marie Kom film. Okay, Marie Kom won bronze, a shared third or fourth place in the Olympics. She came home to India. They gave her an academy for female fighters to train when she came home. Fourth place. Clarissa Shields came back to America. When I asked Americans if they knew who won gold in women's boxing, they didn't even know women's boxing was not in the Olympics before 2012, and they had no idea. That hurt my heart. The front pages were filled with, in England, with their British gold medal winner. In Ireland, she was the star of Ireland, and Clarissa Shields won
Katie
gold.
Taylor. Well, let's tell people here. Clarissa Shields won gold at 165 pounds.
That hurt my heart.
It hurts my heart too.
It hurt my. Such a great fighter. When she fought in the Olympics, she moved like Mike Tyson. She hit. When she missed a punch, I was worried for her opponent getting hit by her punches because she moves like Mike Tyson. That saddens me. That's such a great fight. I haven't heard anything. That's such a great talent disappears into nowhere. And other countries, like in India, this woman now has a feature film going for her, has an academy, won bronze. The same thing in England. Sponsorships are going for the gold medal winner in England. And Ireland, that girl is like the superstar.
Katie Taylor, 132.
Okay. Of course, Katie Taylor has her dad really guiding her. But Clarissa Shields, such a champion. That hurts my heart that we cannot honor our women. We talk about the Middle East, that women are being not respected in the Middle East. I think we should honor here in America our powerful women in America, and that's all I want to say.
Well, I agree. I think you're a little bit more about Marlon Esparza, one in the States. But I agree. Clarissa Shields, she got at the Olympic trials, at 16 years old, the best fighter of the tournament. And then she won gold. And many people do not even know who she is, unfortunately. But hopefully now, maybe they'll do a little research on her. Well, I want to thank you both so much. I want to tell everybody to look for the fight for Diana Prazak against Frida Wahlberg. It's going to be June 14th in Stockholm, Sweden. Hopefully it'll be televised because it's the WBC Female Superfly Featherweight title and the WIBA Women's International Boxing Association Super Featherweight title. These are all like tongue twisters for me. But please, do you know if it's going to be televised?
It's televised in Sweden, but I don't think it's going to be in the States.
It is coming.
Oh, maybe it is, actually.
Maybe we can bring some footage. We can have to see what we can do.
Definitely. We'll look for it and want to thank you both very much. Good luck. And I think you're a great trainer. You're a fantastic fighter, Diana, and I see the knockout myself, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're going to
thank you.
After. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. We're going to go back to commercial, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to have discussions with the Prophet, and when Richie Jones is supposed to come with us and talk about Shane Mosley and Cano, Burns and Gonzalez, Matisse and Peterson, and of course we will talk about Mayweather coming up in just a moment.
This is Real Combat Media Radio. Check us out at realcombatmedia.com. While you're there, check out the Feed the Poor link on the bottom of every article, and you can send a donation if you're interested. That is, once again, on the bottom of every article as well as on the top of the website. If you are an MMA, boxing, or fitness business and interested in sponsoring our website or radio podcast, send us an email. Advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Once again, that is advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Make sure to check out the Real Combat Media MMA and boxing store at the top of the menu at realcombatmedia.com. We carry a collection of products. We have the Cardio Mask, which is excellent for all fighters, endurance athletes, and serious fitness enthusiasts. Once you are in the Real Combat Media store, click on the banner on that page. We also carry Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a great and natural product which activates your brain's neurotransmitters and helps you think more clearly, which improves brain function. You can also purchase the world's healthiest plant protein, which comes from hemp. There are many other products on the online store, and click on the On It banner at the Real Combat Media store, and you can purchase Alpha Brain and other health products. Use the discount code Real Combat Media, and you will receive 10% off at the checkout store on the On It. That is ONNIT on the banner at Real Combat Media store. Buckle up. Here we go. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 13. I'm Krysti Rosario here with Richard, the boxing prophet Solomon. We are expecting a panel guest to come on of Richie Jones in a little while so we can discuss a lot of topics to discuss. As I said before the commercial, and we are going to talk about Mosley and Cano, Burns and Gonzalez, Matisse and Peterson, and oh my gosh, we're going to come up with Profits Mayweather sweepstakes. I'm excited to hear about this. But first, I want to tell you, if you want to call in, we'd love to hear from you at 347-324-5998. You can find us on Twitter at Real Combat Media. On Facebook, just put it in the search bar, Real Combat Media, and www.realcombatmedia.com. So we are back. What a fantastic hour we had with Lucia Rijker and Diana Prazak. What did you think, Prophet?
I thought it was great, and let me just tell the world, and I meant to tell Lucia on the air, but I didn't want to make her blush. I've been following boxing now for 30-somewhat years, and I've seen female boxers at the height of their popularity, the pinnacle of their success, come and go. And with all due respect to Krysti Martin, Layla Ali, and even the UFC's darling right now, Ronda Rousey, all pale in comparison to Lucia Rijker. When she was in her prime, she was the best female fighting machine that I've ever seen in my 30 or so more years of following boxing, not only as a reporter and a broadcaster, but as a fan as well. So hopefully she'll be very happy to know that I'm her biggest fan.
I think anybody would be happy to know that you're their biggest fan, Prophet.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Because you have so much knowledge when it comes to boxing. I mean, I'm sure other areas too, but boxing, you are just you're an almanac. Well, Wikipedia.
You know, and I also love the fact that she brought up France, because one of the biggest atrocities in boxing history happened in France when Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker went over to France and embarrassed Jose Luis Ramirez, winning 11 out of the 12 rounds, and should have been declared the new lightweight champion of the world, but somehow didn't get the decision. So when Lucia mentioned that, you know, the politics of going to France and getting a decision, the politics that sometimes, you know, rears its ugly head in boxing, it really made me think back to that day where poor Sweet Pea Whitaker got robbed.
Yeah, politics and pretty much everything. But let me turn for a second because we have Richie. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well, hello. This is Richie. You go by Richie S. Jones or just Richie Jones?
Richie Jones is fine.
This is Richie Jones. He is our panel guest from Las Vegas, Nevada, the home of, I don't know, what is it the home of, Richie?
Home of boxing. Of course, we have the new Las Vegas Boxing Hall of Fame over at the Luxor, which is great. I recommend it to everyone.
Well, do you work for the tourism of Vegas?
Oh, no, ma'am. I work for the Clark County School
kidding.
District and the maintenance. Oh, yeah. But no, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. That was great. And I love the way you guys were talking about Pernell, because Pernell is one of my favorite fighters of all time. One of the most underrated fighters of all time.
Sweet Pea Whitaker. What a phenomenal athlete.
Oh, no question about it. In my opinion, the greatest lightweight champion of all time. Probably the greatest 140-pounder of all time, even though he only had one world title fight at that weight. I don't think there was too many guys that could really challenge him at those two weights. I think maybe 147. Maybe he was a little small for because he was a very small frame gentleman, but Well, I don't know if the late Hector Camacho would consider him a gentleman, because I did watch Purnell make Camacho cry at Caesar's Palace one time when he got into his face over near the Joe Louis statue. I don't know what started this, if it was Camacho opening his mouth or what, but Sweet Pea did not take it.
All right, well that's a good trivia for someone to have at a party now. What do you think? What do you think, Prophet?
Well, I remember years ago when Ring Magazine was handing out, fighters of the decade, their awards. Obviously, Sugar Ray Leonard was the fighter of the decade for the 80s. I was very, very upset when Purnell Sweet Pea Whitaker was first runner-up in the 90s, and they gave it to Roy Jones Jr. I always thought Purnell Whitaker, it's not based on talent alone. It's based on resume. Purnell Sweet Pea Whitaker fought the best that his era had to offer, whether it was Julio Cesar Chavez, Felix Tito Trinidad, you name it, Purnell Sweet Pea Whitaker fought him. Roy Jones, for all of his technical brilliance, ducked a lot of fighters. He didn't want to go overseas to fight Myszolszewski in Poland because he was afraid he was going to get robbed. And I understand that he got robbed in South Korea, so he didn't want to, get robbed of his titles. But I always felt that not only in boxing but in life, it's always the man that makes the title, not the title that makes the man. So I thought Roy Jones, even though he put on a spectacular performance against James Toney in a career-defining fight, didn't have that resume that Purnell Sweet Pea Whitaker had. So to me, with all due respect to Mr. Roy Jones Jr., Purnell Sweet Pea Whitaker is the undisputed fighter of the 90s as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you talk about Roy Jones, though, and, I mean, who would not be shell-shocked like he was after going to the Olympics in Korea, winning it was so obvious that he won that fight, and then he gets silver. I mean, I would be very tentative and hesitant to go to another country to try and fight after that, wouldn't you?
Yes and no.
Okay, one of you, Richie.
Let's not forget that Myszolszewski was the actual linear world light heavyweight champion. He was the man that beat Virgil Hill. Virgil Hill cleaned up the division by beating Henry Mosca. I understand that after Myszolszewski beat Virgil Hill, he had some belts stripped. Roy picked him up. But nonetheless, Myszolszewski, in my opinion, he was the man to beat at light heavyweight. I love Roy Jones Jr., but, you have to do this sometimes. Everyone knows that there was some shady, underhanded shenanigans going on with his quote-unquote defeat in South Korea. We all know that. That was a corrupt, robbery, if you will. We all know that. And I know that Roy's attitude was when going over to Europe or whatnot back in the day, his attitude was, well, nobody's going to be watching. Well, you know what? HBO would have picked that fight up in a second. I know they tried to make that fight. I know they tried to get Myszolszewski to come over here. He wasn't going to do it. I think Roy should have gone over there. I think Roy would have schooled him. I don't even think it would have been close. Okay, yeah, his fight in Korea wasn't close, and he got jobbed, but everybody would have seen it.
Right. Okay, well, let's turn this a little bit and talk a little bit about news of Robert Guerrero. We just want to tell everyone that Robert pleads guilty in his case in New York. He was charged with 1 count of criminal possession of a firearm and 3 counts of third-degree criminal possession of a weapon. But as a part of a plea deal, Queens prosecutors dropped all charges except one disorderly conduct charge, which Guerrero pleaded guilty to. So the boxer must pay $250 in fine, complete 50 hours of community service, and surrender his gun and magazine. And the gun was legally registered to the boxer in California, but was not legal to carry in New York. And I say, Guerrero, you got off easy. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's
Prophet, what do you think?
Go ahead, Prophet.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a joke that, New York is all of a sudden saying that we're the city that has the toughest gun control laws in America, and then you don't even give Guerrero any jail time. I just think that they went, I agree with Krysti, they went way, way, way too soft on the Ghost.
What do you think, Richie?
I know this is getting away from boxing, but I think that New York's gun laws contradict the Second Amendment. They weren't loaded. I understand that it's a state-by-state law, but again, the Second Amendment says we have the right to bear arms. I'm not a Republican. I've never voted Republican, but I do agree with that. And I just think that their gun laws are too strict to the point where only the outlaws have the guns. That's where I go there. I don't want to kick up any firestorm there. I know that that's a heavy issue outside of boxing, but if the Second Amendment is amended again, I'll go with that. But I just think that New York's gun laws are just too strict. Nobody's gonna, in my house, nobody's gonna take my gun. My gun is for home protection.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying for or against. I'm just saying I hope New York treats Guerrero the way they would treat, let's say, myself, who carried, a gun that was not loaded. It was a mistake, I'm sure. He thought, well, I have a license in California. But I just, fair is fair. I'm just saying they seem to have gotten easy on him. Would they go easy on the next guy? Would they go easy on Richie Jones or not? That's all I was saying.
Probably not, because you have to remember, I'm sure Robert Guerrero had Golden Boy's best attorneys there to back him up. We don't have that. I would have to go with Joe Schmo, public pretender.
Okay. Well, that's fair. All right, well, let's move on to more boxing, since we know what happened with Robert Guerrero, and we know what happened with him and with Mayweather. So can we move on? What do you think, guys?
It's up to you.
Okay, it's up to me. I like that. So we will talk about Shane Mosley and Pablo Cesar Cano. Welterweight's coming up soon. What do you guys think about this? Shane is fighting again.
Well, earlier in the program, Krysti, Lucia Rijker brought up James Lights Out Tony. There are certain fighters who fight not for the money necessarily, but they really think that their skills aren't diminished. They really think that they still have something left in the tank. Roy Jones is like that, James Toney, maybe Evander Holyfield. God only knows if he'll step into the ring again. But then there are other fighters who fight because they need money. Based on what I've read throughout the various outlets of social media, Sugar Shane Mosley has gone through a bitter divorce. His wife is trying to take all of his money away. No disrespect to my female host, of course. And Sugar Shane Mosley needs to support his family and needs to fight. He's taking the fight against Cano, who, let's get real, Cano was robbed in his last fight. He went into Brooklyn, knocked down Paulie Malignaggi in the later rounds. I thought he dominated the fight, won the fight by 4 points on my scorecard, but somehow, some way, Malignaggi got the decision, and now you have a Sugar Shane Mosley whose skills are clearly, eroding, and now he's fighting Cano.
What about you, Richie?
I think that Sugar Shane Mosley should have retired after the Mayweather fight. The second round, he had a big round in the second round. Other than that, it was all Mayweather. He had that horrible draw, and then the losses to Pacquiao and Alvarez. I think that his time is way past. You have fighters like Bernard Hopkins, George Foreman, Archie Moore that can compete at the highest level well into their 40s, pushing 50. Sugar Shane Mosley is not one of those. That doesn't mean he's not an all-time great. I think he is. I think the first year he is eligible for the Hall of Fame, he's going to be inducted. But that should have been a few years ago, probably. He needs to know that his time is past. I agree with the Prophet. Cano was unconsciously robbed against Malignaggi last fall. He won that fight clearly. I understand why Mosley's taking this fight, because he was probably hoping to get that fight with Malignaggi, since Malignaggi is clearly the weakest of the belt holders at welterweight for some time, and I know that's why Al Heyman went ahead and pushed it for a fight between Malignaggi and Adrian Broner.
Well, the thing you have to look at with Shane, though, I mean, no matter what your opinion is on him, he is always in shape. I mean, I see him around town because I referee and judge, and his son is now in the amateur program. I see him with his dad. You know, he's always in shape. He's aside from, let's say, look at the record, he's always got a great outlook, a great guy, and I want to see him do well. He's never, ever been knocked out. Do you realize that? I mean, with 46 wins, 39 knockouts himself, he's lost only 8, and he's never ducked an opponent. He has fought the best of the best. You know what I mean? I think
I agree.
Should get some credit up to this point. I mean, with Canelo, yes, he obviously didn't win, but, I thought he was in the fight. You guys didn't think he was in the fight?
No, I thought it was pretty one-sided.
Yeah, I thought Canelo pretty much dominated, but and Canelo by no means is an A- type of fighter. Yes, Richie and I agree that he got robbed against Malignaggi, but if Sugar Shane Mosley for one night only can turn back the hands of time and fought the way he did against Antonio Margarito, I think he has a shot at maybe upsetting Canelo, but let's not forget that the fight is in Mexico. So if it's close, I can't see Sugar Shane Mosley getting a decision over Canelo. But Krysti made a good point. He always comes to fight. He's in good shape, and let's just hope for his sake that Canelo doesn't take him seriously. That Canelo perceives Mosley to be a shot fighter and a notch on his resume. And if, like I said, if the old Mosley shows up, the one that had his proverbial last stand against Margarito, which in essence set up his big payday against Mayweather, that bigger upsets have happened. Maybe for one night only, Sugar Shane Mosley.
All right, well, let's talk about Canelo. So we'll just say that he's won 26 fights with 20 KOs. He's lost 2, and he was KO'd by Eric Morales. Do you guys remember that?
Absolutely.
10th of the 12th round, he was KO'd. So, he's a very good, coming fighter. Maybe I'm just hopeful. What do you think?
Well, from what I remember, actually, and Richie can back me up on this, Canelo gave as good as he got against Eric Morales. That wasn't one of Eric Morales' better performances as a pro. That's when I took notice that this Canelo isn't just an opponent, he's got skills. It was a rough and tough fight, and until Morales scored the TKO victory, it was kind of a life and death fight for Eric Morales.
It was a very close fight up until the stoppage, I agree.
Up until the 10th round. So let's tell everybody so they know. So on May 18th, Shane Mosley will be fighting Pablo Cesar Canelo. And, hopefully it'll be exciting. It's for a vacant WBC International welterweight title. I'll look forward to seeing it. Hopefully it'll be on, is it going to be on Showtime or HBO? Do we know?
I believe it's on one of the Spanish channels, like Univision or something of that nature.
Okay. All right. Well, we can watch it in Spanish. And they will be fighting in Mexico, like you said. So we will see what happens. Anything else you want to talk about? No? Okay.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the Lamont Peterson-Lucas Matisse fight on Saturday.
Okay, well, that is one of our subjects, but I wanted to make sure we were done with Shane Mosley, that nobody wants to talk about it. Anyone want to call and talk about Mosley and Canelo? If you do, you can call. I'll tell you the phone number, 347-324-5998, 347-324-5998. All right, well, then let's move on. Let's move down to, let's talk about Ricky Burns and Jose Gonzalez, the lightweight fight. That was quite a fight. Did you guys watch that over there in Scotland?
I
watched it twice.
All right, so Prophet, tell us what you think first.
Well, I thought Burns went in there with the notion that even though he was in against an undefeated challenger, he wasn't impressed with his resume, and he shouldn't be because the challenger didn't have any great names on his resume. But he is a guy, Burns, who to me epitomizes all that's wrong with boxing. He had a unification bout planned against Vasquez, and that fight never materialized. Then he was supposed to fight Adrian Broner, but he got into a big fight with Frankie Warren, his promoter, and so that fight was canceled. And now Broner, as we know, has moved up 2 weight classes to challenge Burns. I believe went back to his old promoter. So all of this nonsense, and he basically was lucky to win the fight. He got dominated for the first 6 rounds of the fight, was out-hustled, outworked, and it looked like he was going to lose his title. To his credit, he made a great stand in rounds 7, 8, and 9, with round 7 being a early candidate for round of the year. Both fighters exchanged vicious blows. It was give me 2 shots, I'll land 3 in return. And then I had it 6 rounds to 3. Burns losing after the 9th round, and inexplicably, the challenger complained that he had some sort of hand injury. He broke his hand. I don't know. I tried to go on social media to do my research. I don't know if there was medical evidence to prove that the fighter was injured, but it just seems that, Burns, and I never want to question a fighter's integrity when he claims he's hurt, but Burns, suffice to say, was very, very lucky to hold on to his title. And all 3 judges, by the way, at the time of the stoppage, had it scored exactly the same way as I did, 6 rounds to 3 in favor of the challenger. So barring a miracle, a come-from-behind TKO victory, or a round in which Burns scored several knockdowns, he was on his way to losing the title.
Right. Well, yeah, I felt that Gonzalez was so comfortable in the ring. I loved watching him. He would go from southpaw to orthodox. It didn't seem to matter. He had so many different ideas and ways to do things. He was comfortable using every weapon, his jab, cross hooks, and uppercuts, for the first 6 rounds. And to me, you get to the 7th round, and that was an intense round for the 2 of them. It looked like Gonzalez got hurt in that round. I would never say that he lost his heart like some of these commentators from Scotland kept saying. He does not. This Puerto Rican fighter left Puerto Rico to go all the way to Scotland with the favorite, and he's not someone that would lose his heart. I, too, could not find what happened to him, but I would say he probably got injured. What do you think, Rich?
I'm not ready to call him the second coming of Victor Ortiz yet, but this is the hurt business. Again, like the Prophet said, there has been no evidence that he hurt himself, but he was clearly not the same fighter after the 7th round. When you look at his resume, he's got 17 knockouts and 22 victories against 2. I think that, in my opinion, he just showed to be a front runner. Once the fight started to get out of hand, he looked to get out of it any way he could. I hope that I'm wrong. But to me, after that 7th round, he was not the same. You're right. During the first 6 rounds, he had found a home for that counter right hand, and that left jab was just, tattooing Burns all night. But after the 7th round, he was not the same fighter, and I don't think that he will ever be weight division because he just, you hurt your hand, but you're in the hurt business. Muhammad Ali had his jaw broken in the first or second round against Ken Norton. He lasted 12 rounds and made it a fairly close fight. Pernell Whitaker had his jaw broken in the 7th round against Trinidad. He did not quit. This guy quit. I'm not saying that all quitters have no heart, because Vitaly Klitschko, after he quit against Chris Bird, he went out on his shield against Lennox Lewis 3 years later. But right now, he's going to have to show me something again. I would love to see a rematch with him and Ricky Burns, or I would love to see him against anyone else in the top 10 who is not going to fold, because obviously he is used to knocking guys out right away. this didn't happen, and he took some heavy shots. Even though Ricky Burns is not a big puncher, he took some solid shots in the 7th round, and he was not the same fighter after the 7th round.
So do you agree with this, Prophet, that Gonzalez isn't going to be really much of a contender for the division?
I don't think he will, nor do I think Burns will offer him a rematch. Gonzalez is the type of opponent now where it's a high-risk, low-reward type of fight. If he fights him again and wins, he's supposed to fight him. No one really knows who Gonzalez is. But if he fights him again and loses, forget about it. All the paydays that he might get are thrown out the window. So I guess for Burns, it's on the bigger and better thing. It's back to the drawing board.
And let's not forget Ring
Were you
Magazine
impressed, though, with Ricky? Hello?
Yes.
I
was just going to say, were you impressed, though, with Burns? I mean, the first 5 rounds, I found maybe he was just getting comfortable, but it took him a time to really figure out Gonzalez. And comfortable, he was just kind of, I don't know, stagnant in a way.
Yeah, no, I thought he did what he had to do, at least in the middle rounds. You know, a lot of fighters would have caved. You know, you got to give credit where credit is due. For the first 6 rounds, you couldn't, in good conscience, give Burns any of those rounds. He could have, lost the decision and gone and fought another day, but he rallied. The 7th round, like I alluded to, was a round of the year candidate. Definitely won rounds 8 and 9. Was on the verge of a comeback. But if Gonzalez didn't quit, I don't know what would have happened. But all 3 judges had Gonzalez comfortably ahead, and Burns could have really made a statement by fighting Broner or Vasquez, and for whatever reason, both of those fights didn't materialize. I just think his promoters are being very, very cautious in picking his opponents.
Your phone
let's not forget
wait. Hold on, Richie. Prof, you keep coming in and out. Are you there, Prophet? I don't know, maybe long. Richie, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Richie, okay, all right. Let us know, because Prophet keeps coming out with the phone. Go, Richie.
Well, I was just going to say, let's not forget that, in Europe, boxing is so much bigger than it is here. And a lot of these fighters like Ricky Burns, I guess I can't blame him for not taking a risk against Adrian Broner, because Adrian Broner wasn't willing to go to England to fight him. And I think it would have been a bigger fight in England, because Adrian Broner is not a huge draw yet, whereas what we saw this past weekend, I mean, Ricky Burns against Jose Gonzalez, they packed the joint.
Right. Well, was it Gonzalez or was it Burns that packed the joint over there in Scotland? What do you think?
Well, I think these European fight fans, they turn out for their countrymen, whether it's in Great Britain, Germany, Ukraine, wherever. I mean, they turn out. In Denmark, I mean, my God, Mikkel Kessler is like a god in Denmark, from what I understand. They come out for him. They are not just, they are what you would say crossover fans. Even your casual boxing fan will come out to see these guys fight. Where in this country, I mean, it's Mayweather and maybe it's Manny Pacquiao, who's not even an American. Other than that, you never see a packed anymore. I mean, sure, when Oscar De La Hoya would take on a so-called mandatory back in the day, sure, he could fill that stadium down in San Antonio or whatnot, for a reduced price. But other than that, boxing's just not, it is not as popular here as it is in Europe, and I don't blame some of these European fighters for not taking the risk and coming over here. We got to go over there, and then I think that's why the Klitschko's just don't fight in America anymore.
Why don't you explain that? Why don't you think they fight in America anymore?
Because they could fight you or me over there in Germany or in Russia and sell out any soccer stadium anywhere. I mean, they sell 100,000 tickets or whatnot at the drop of a hat over there. If they come here, they're not going to. From what I understand, the only time a Klitschko has really sold big tickets in this country is when Vitaly fought Chris Arreola at the Staples Arena, and I got a feeling that was mostly Chris Areola's fans.
All right, good points. But you know what? We need to go to a commercial break. So, Richie, you're going to hang on. And Prophet, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, good. That sounds a little better. All right, before we go to the break, I just want to tell everybody, if you are in the Los Angeles area, I do self-defense. I take self-defense over at Elite Training Center, and it is fantastic. We do Israeli martial arts, and they have Krav Maga, they have MMA, Kali, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. It's a fantastic place. Great owner, Brian Roshback, and you can contact them by elitetrainingcenter.net or 310-543-1600. Mention this from me, and they will give you a free week to try their classes. Fantastic place. Hold on, we'll be right back to talk more boxing.
This is Real Combat Media Radio. Check us out at realcombatmedia.com. While you're there, check out the Feed the Poor link on the bottom of every article, and you can send a donation if you're interested. That is, once again, on the bottom of every article as well as on the top of the website. If you are an MMA, boxing, or fitness business and interested in sponsoring our website or radio podcast, send us an email. Advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Once again, that is advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Make sure to check out the Real Combat Media MMA and boxing store at the top of the menu at realcombatmedia.com. We carry a collection of products. We have the Cardio Mask, which is excellent for all fighters, endurance athletes, and serious fitness enthusiasts. Once you are in the Real Combat Media store, click on the banner on that page. We also carry Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a great and natural product which activates your brain's neurotransmitters and helps you think more clearly, which improves brain function. You can also purchase the world's healthiest plant protein, which comes from hemp. There are many other products online on the online store, and click on the On It banner at the Real Combat Media Alpha Brain, and other health products. Use the discount code Real Combat Media, and you will receive 10% off at the checkout store on the On It. That is ONNIT on the banner at Real Combat Media store. Buckle up. Here we go. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 13. I'm Krysti Rosario here with Richard Solomon, the boxing prophet, and Chi Jones. I'm from Los Angeles. We have Prophet from New York, and then we have Richie Jones from Las Vegas, Nevada. How you guys doing? You're back?
We're back.
Prophet, you guys Yes? Okay. I hope it's there. You guys are too quiet. Let me finish. Then we're going to get into the topic. Go to Twitter, in the search bar, realcombatmedia.com. If you want to call in, 324-5998. And we are going to continue. Here we go. You hear it, guys?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're breaking
right
up a little bit.
Okay. Well, I think it's your phone because, my headset is perfect. All right. Fine. You get my humor. Let's go on. Okay. Now we get to talk, Richie, about Lucas Matthysse versus Lamont Peterson. You guys excited? Oh, you guys are so excited. All right.
I love that fight.
All right. Let me tell you, they're light welterweights. They are going to be fighting on May 18th over there in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Hey, Prophet, you're going to go see him?
I was thinking about it. I'm very, very excited for this fight. It's a calculated risk for Lamont Peterson. All the trauma that he's endured with the multiple failing of the drug tests. I think based on his performance on Friday Night Fights, his last fight, stopping Kendall Holt in the 8th round, I think he needs to step it up against the best that his division has to offer, and there is no one better than Matthysse, who's probably to this point, the most underrated boxer in the world. He is a guy who has 2 losses, both by split decision, and both fights I thought he clearly won. He dominated Devin Alexander. In my mind, won 8 out of the 12 rounds, lost a split decision. The Zab Judah fight was a lot closer, but he dropped Zab Judah in the later rounds, and that should have given him the decision victory, but he lost that fight via split decision as well. Every other fight he's won in convincing fashion, whether it be by knockout or decision. And Lamont Peterson, to his credit, a lot of people say he was given a gift when he beat Amir Khan by a split decision. The referee did a horrible job in that fight, deducting multiple points from Amir Khan's scorecard. That's how Peterson won the title. And some people will say that Peterson, in probably his least efficient fight, got dominated by Timothy Bradley. I mean, I remember that fight like it was yesterday. Bradley won 11 out of the 12 rounds and basically took away Lamont Peterson's heart. So for this fight, as far as I'm concerned, it's which Lamont Peterson shows up. Is it the Lamont Peterson who has good boxing skills, a nice educated jab, can move around the ring with his feet, and can punch from angles, or is it going to be the Lamont Peterson who wants to get everyone's mind off of his failed drug test, become a fan-friendly fighter, and go to war with Matisse? If he does that, he's in deep trouble because Matisse has power in both hands, and like I said, for all intent and purposes, Matisse should be undefeated at this point in his career, and he knows that based on the debacles with Devin Alexander and Zab Judah, he's not going to get a decision victory against Peterson in Atlantic City. The only way he's leaving Atlantic City with a title is if he knocks out Peterson, and believe me, that's what he plans on doing.
Well, let's mention also that Lucas Matisse is from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Some of you don't know that. And his record is 33 wins, 31 KOs, and he only lost 2. And as you heard from Prophet, those were debatable. We have Lamont Peterson, who is 31 wins, KO 16, and he is from Memphis, Tennessee. All right. So what do you think, Richie Jones?
I agree with the Prophet. Matisse is an undefeated fighter. He won both the fights against Devin Alexander and Zab Judah. But I guess, Teddy Atlas kind of put it best when he says in those fights it seemed like Matisse did just enough to lose because the fights were there for him to win. He had both fighters down and hurt, and he never stepped on the gas. I didn't think that the Lamont Peterson-Amir Khan fight was so controversial. Even without the point deductions, I still had Lamont Peterson winning that fight. I don't know which Lamont Peterson is going to show up this time around. I was very impressed with him in his draw against Victor Ortiz. He got dropped a couple times early in the fight, and he made it very close, and, of course, he salvaged a draw out of the deal. So I think he is a very improved fighter. I think the knockout of Kendall Holt, his confidence level is riding high. I think this fight could go either way. I think that it's either a decision win for Peterson or a knockout victory for Matisse.
A knockout victory. Is that what you think, Prophet?
I agree with Richie on a lot of points, especially with Peterson's performance against Victor Ortiz. A lot of people were saying that draw was a debacle, that Ortiz knocked down Peterson twice. He deserved a decision victory. I thought Peterson put on a boxing clinic. It's in the eyes of the viewer. Do you like the guy who's coming forward, throwing punches and bunches, but clearly not being effective, or do you like a guy who's putting on a boxing show with his jab and his hand speed? And I thought the rounds in which he didn't get knocked down and Peterson dominated Ortiz and deserved the draw. I slightly disagree with Richie on the fight with Khan. I had Khan, even with the point deductions, I had Khan beating Peterson slightly. I think, like Richie said, it's a question of which Peterson will show up. Will it be the boxer or the more fan-friendly fighter? I think Matisse will get off to a slow start. Peterson probably will put the first 3 or 4 rounds in the bank with his movement and his jab. but I think systematically, Matisse will go to Peterson's body, will wear him down in the middle rounds, and I just believe that at the end of the day, good guys really need to be rewarded. I mean, here's a guy, for the love of God, was robbed twice. I refuse to believe that it can happen a third time, although anything is possible in the sport we love called boxing. But I think at the end of the day, with no disrespect to Peterson, I think he's a good fighter. Justice will eventually be served. Matisse, oddly enough, will be behind on the scorecards going into round 11, and Peterson will be exhausted from Matisse's body blow, and he'll just be physically spent, and the referee will stop it. I like your winner by a come-from-behind 11th round TKO and new champion, Matisse.
Wow. All right, you heard it here first. And then tell me, if Matisse accomplishes what you two think, who is he going to fight?
Danny Garcia.
Okay, Danny Garcia. Is it going to happen, or is Danny and Angel Garcia going to duck Matisse?
I don't think they will, because seeing that they're all Golden Boy fighters, that's a very easy fight to make. I mean, I understand Al Heyman probably has a lot to say about it, and it does seem like a lot of Al Heyman fighters don't take a lot of risks these days. But I do think that a fight, I really think Danny Garcia is going to take on the winner of this weekend's fight.
Okay. Well, it'll be definitely something to watch. I'll be watching. I'm excited. I was invited to a wedding in Atlantic City. I wish I could be there and do both, go to the wedding and go. If any of you have a private jet and want to send me over there. Anyways, all right, moving on. If we're done with this topic, we are going to move on to probably Prophet's favorite subject at the moment, Mayweather. And who is he going to fight? Because you know what? Canelo wants him to move up, and you know Mayweather's not going to move up in weight. What do you guys think? Prophet?
Well, what I've done basically, Krysti, is I've come up with my own list, and I call it the Mayweather sweepstakes list. Via social media, Facebook, Twitter, I've read names that have been mentioned for fights, whether it's Floyd's next fight or somewhere down the line, and I basically put it into like a college basketball type of format in brackets. And I was hoping after I named the fighters in each bracket, you and Rich could comment on on the level of authenticity of this list that I came up with. Well, while I was brainstorming, of course.
Okay, let's hear it. Mayweather sweepstakes. Here we go.
Yes, the first four fighters are in Class A, and these four fighters are basically fighters who, if they ever step into the ring or even breathe the same air as Floyd Money Mayweather, I may boycott the sport I love so passionately. Don't even suspect that any of these four guys are going to step into the ring with Floyd. And those four guys are Devin Alexander, Kell Brook, Paulie Malignaggi, or Amir Khan. All four of those fighters are career underachievers, and they have no business stepping into the ring with Floyd Money Mayweather. Your comments, please?
Well, isn't Khan, I mean, he's kind of pushing hard to get in the ring with Mayweather, don't you think?
He's pushing hard, but based on his last performance in a fight he barely won on my scorecards, dropped and came back and overcame adversity against a fighter who's clearly past his prime. I mean, it would be a huge sell in England if you're into the sport for monetary purposes, and Floyd goes to England and fights Khan. It'll be, I guess, a spectacle in England, but he doesn't deserve that fight. It's a mismatch. Floyd would toy with Amir Khan.
What do you think, Richie?
I think that's exactly why Amir Khan will get the fight against Floyd Mayweather over in Great Britain, because he has been so beatable of late, but he's also a very bankable fighter. I think that's almost a no-brainer. I think that before this year is out, we'll see Floyd and probably Amir Khan go at it. I don't see Floyd fighting Saul Alvarez anytime soon. Let's not forget, Saul Alvarez came into the ring against Austin Trout at over 170 pounds. Floyd turned pro at 130, and you know what? I think that I just don't see him taking that fight, and not anytime soon anyway.
All right. What do you think, Prof? You want to go on with your list, or you want to comment on your 4?
Well, that was basically the 4 that I don't want to see Floyd ever fight. Let me repeat that for the fans that want to call in or write me on Twitter with their angry responses. Devin Alexander, Kell Brook, Amir Khan, and Paulie Malignaggi do not deserve to breathe the same air as Floyd Mayweather. My next crop of 4 are pretty good.
Prophet, hold on. Since you mentioned calling, I should give the number. So it's 347-324-5998. Again, 347-324-5998. If you want to call and yell at Prophet, that might be kind of fun. Go ahead. Fight over the phones. Let's go. All right, Prophet, continue.
I take criticism very well, and I'm waiting for your response and Richie's response to my next 4. The next 4 are pretty decent fights that have a shot to be made, and fights that I might actually tune in to watch. And those 4 opponents are Austin Trout, Danny Garcia, and the winner of this Saturday's fight, whether it's Lucas Matisse and or Lamont Peterson. Those 4 guys are pretty decent fighters, and I think they all deserve a shot at Floyd Mayweather.
Richie?
Well, I think I could add 2 more names to that. One of them is a very green guy, and of course he's a stablemate of Floyd's, and that's Keith Thurman. He's ranked very high by all the alphabet organizations. I would love to see Keith Thurman go at Floyd. He's already called him out. Also, I would love to see Ruslan Provodkinov, who got, in my opinion, was robbed against Timothy Bradley his last time out. I don't know if Provodkinov could make it very competitive against Floyd, but I think he earned another big payday in his fight with Timothy Bradley, and since he is not controlled by Top Rank, that's a fight that could be made.
Okay. Oh, a little trivia about Keith Thurman. When he was in the amateurs and he won the PAL, the National PAL, I was his referee when he won. So it's kind of exciting today, to watch him and how he's grown. And also, I referee Devin Alexander. I like both guys. I think if Matisse wins, I wouldn't mind seeing Matisse and Mayweather. It just seems like Matisse, I don't know. I think Mayweather is pretty dominating in his weight class, but I think Matisse might be fun to watch.
It could be, absolutely, especially people keep talking about, well, what if Floyd gets old overnight? But I think that Floyd he should really stay at welterweight. I don't think he needs to go up to super welterweight for any reason. I understand there's big money to fight Alvarez, but Alvarez, he's basically he's a middleweight, and that's killing himself to make 154 pounds. And I say, let him fight other guys, let him take other risks. Gennady Golovkin has called out Alvarez more than once. Make that fight. But you know what? They're not going to do that because that's too much of a risk. And Gennady Golovkin at this point, the risk versus reward factor just doesn't equal what it would be against Floyd against Alvarez.
Yeah, what bothers me about that, they're demanding that what goes up is that it's like, you don't have to, and it's almost like saying Usain Bolt, who's the fastest man in the world, you have to run the mile because you have to prove yourself. You know what I mean? I know it's a little different because this is boxing and it's different weights, but I think it's similar, and I don't think that Mayweather has to go up in weight, and he can still be the best in his weight class.
Right, he has already won 2 titles at that weight division. And last year when he fought Miguel Cotto, I think that Cotto was the cream of the 154-pound division. In 2007, even though Oscar was a little older, a little slower, still at that point, I think Oscar was the number 1 154-pounder when Floyd beat him. I don't think Floyd has anything else to prove at 154 pounds unless, they just throw Fort Knox at him.
All right, Prophet, you heard it. Let's see what else you have.
And I love the fact that Richie brought up Thurman and Provodnikov, but I just don't think at this stage of their careers that they have the cachet that interests Floyd. The third crop of fighters that I have are fights that I'd like to see, but the politics of boxing are such that any of these fights will never happen. And those obviously are Manny Pacquiao, Timothy Bradley Jr., Mike Alvarado, and Brandon Rios. All four are solid fighters that actually pose a threat to Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s legacy. And based on boxing politics, none of those fights are going to happen. We know that Pacquiao is fighting Brandon Rios in China. That'll be a very interesting fight. But listen, I think all four of those guys would, I don't know if they would necessarily beat Floyd, but they could at least hang with him. And those are four fights I would like to see.
So you really think Timothy Bradley could hang with Floyd Mayweather?
I think based on his unorthodox style, he can win some rounds and make, the Preventnikov fight in essence was a little bit of a mirage for Bradley. I don't think he looked, I don't think he's as bad as he looked in that fight. You could see he wasn't properly trained. He had a soft midsection. He thought Preventnikov was just there to be an opponent, not there to win the fight. But I just think, Bradley's undefeated. Even though knowledgeable boxing fans like you, myself, and Richie know that he's got a gift against Pacquiao, technically he is undefeated. And at least on paper, it looks like a decent test for Floyd Mayweather.
I don't know. You know what? Floyd is not getting old anytime soon. And that's what I actually love that because, at 36, right? He's 36?
He's 36 right now.
Mixed quote myself. He, like a marathon runner, they get stronger, older. I think Mayweather is just getting better. I don't see him declining at all. He's just a phenomenal athlete, and I've never been the biggest fan either. So for me to say that, is something.
Well, don't forget, though, Floyd takes care of himself in between fights. He does not balloon up 50 pounds in between fights. He is probably, at best, maybe walks around in between fights at 155, 160 pounds. He is always in tip-top condition, and as one of his lengthy career and his lengthy success.
That is a very good point. He is always in shape. I mean, that is commendable because, it's hard with Lucia. The eating, the comfort food, the stress, the identity crisis, whatever you're going through, food is there. And, he has controlled himself. He works out all the time, even though when I'm watching these 24/7, his hours of training are just bizarre to me. But that's him. Whatever he's doing works. What do you think, Prophet?
I think you're 100% correct. He's always in good shape. My only argument with Floyd is that at this stage of his career, and this is why I made this list, Floyd needs to build on his legacy. Some of his greatest victories as a professional against Oscar De La Hoya, against Sugar Shane Mosley. De La Hoya and Shane Mosley were two fighters that were past their prime when they fought Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather, to me, hasn't really made a statement. He knocked out Ricky Hatton, but Ricky Hatton's okay. Earlier in his career, Floyd used to make statements, beating the late, great Diego Corrales in one-sided fashion, fighting Jose Luis Castillo twice and beating him, taking a risk, facing guys in the prime of their careers. Fighting Robert the Ghost Guerrero and Victor Ortiz, giving young guys a shot at you is all fine and dandy, but I'm old school. Look at legendary fighters like Oscar De La Hoya and Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, just to name a few. In their careers, they could have retired against decent guys, but they went out with a bang. De La Hoya fought Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, and Bernard Hopkins when his skills were clearly diminished. Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, towards the end of his career, when his skills were clearly on the downside, fought Felix Tito Trinidad and Oscar De La Hoya. To me, that's what legendary champions are made out of. Take a calculated risk. Don't fight Victor Ortiz and Robert Guerrero, a guy who every fan knows you're going to beat easily, cruise to a decision victory, or stop in one-sided fashion. face the best, take a risk. And that's my only bone to pick with Floyd Mayweather Jr. I think he wants to retire undefeated, and I don't think at this stage of his career, even though he trains well and he's in great condition, he doesn't want to take a calculated risk that, God forbid, might take that O off his record, if you know what I mean.
Okay, well then who has the potential to either win rounds besides Bradley and possibly beat Mayweather in his weight class? Is there really somebody?
At welterweight or 154?
No, at his weight.
At welterweight, I can't see anyone right now. I mean, maybe in a year or so, Keith Thurman. I mean, right now I think Floyd would just pick Keith Thurman apart because Keith Thurman does telegraph his punches. But who knows, if Keith Thurman could tighten up his offense a little bit, you never know. I mean, he is a huge puncher. But at 154 pounds, there's no money in it for Floyd, but I would say Erislandy Lara. Erislandy Lara, to me, is a phenomenal fighter. He is one of the crop of the great Cuban fighters to come here over the last 10 or 12 years. I would pick him over Floyd in a minute, but I know I'm contradicting myself when I say Floyd shouldn't go back to 154 pounds, and that's one of the reasons.
All right, Prophet, weigh in there.
Lara's a very educated fighter. He reminds me of Rigondeaux. You know, the way Rigondeaux and Barras Donaire. Lara's very unorthodox, and he's got the style to give Floyd fits. You need an educated jab and a lot of hand speed and foot movement to beat Floyd. Floyd would never take that fight. The available pickings at 140 and 147 are just not there for Floyd. He's going to have to do a fight of 154, 160, or a catch weight, and that's where Richie said before, are they going to offer Floyd Fort Knox? And my original dream fight, which of course can't materialize now because Andre Ward is 175 pounds, but that was my dream fight. When Andre Ward was dominating the super middleweight division and Floyd moved up to 154, I thought to myself, if Floyd really wanted to cement his legacy, what a fight it would be to call out Andre Ward, even if it's at a catch weight. You have the two best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport today. And I know people that don't follow boxing religiously like we do don't even really know who Andre Ward basically is. For that fight on Andre Ward's talent alone, that fight would have to do at least 1.8 million buys on pay-per-view. Hardcore fans would eat that fight up. Mayweather taking a risk against fellow pound-for-pound great fighter Andre Ward, but of course that's a done issue now that Ward is campaigning at light heavyweight. So my Fort Knox list, which Richie pointed out, Floyd wouldn't take unless they offered him God knows how much money, would be Sergio Martinez, who especially after his last two performances, getting knocked down by Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in the 12th and final round, getting knocked down by Martin Murray not once but twice, and Sergio Martinez gets a gift decision in Argentina. If you're Floyd Mayweather, you should be licking your chops. I'll move up to 160 and fight Sergio Martinez. He's not immortal. So you Sergio Martinez, Abel Sanchez, would love to hear this name. We had him on our show last week. Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. The guy's a beast and a future superstar. Forget Victor Ortiz and Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Take a risk and fight this guy who's a machine. And the other two guys on the list are Adrian Broner, who, of course, as we know, apparently he's best friends with Floyd Mayweather, so I don't think that super fight will materialize anytime soon. And then the fourth one is the one everyone wants, Canelo Alvarez. But when Canelo draws 40,000 people in Texas to fight Austin Trout, Floyd Mayweather is not going to dictate to Canelo Alvarez how much money he's going to get or what weight they're going to fight at. Canelo Alvarez does monetarily fine on his own. So basically those are the four fights that I think Floyd would be actually taking a calculated risk. And if he beats any of those four guys, it really, really pushes him to the upper echelon of greatness. Sergio Martinez, Triple G, Well, Canelo Alvarez not so much. I think it's more monetarily a sexy fight now because with Canelo's drawing power, it could easily challenge Mayweather-De La Hoya's record of 2.4 million buys on pay-per-view. But definitely Triple G, Sergio Martinez, and Adrian Broner would be three guys who I think could hang with Floyd Mayweather Jr. But all I want to say, Krysti and Richie, sorry if I'm ranting, I just like to see champions go out on their shield and face the best opposition available. Don't handpick your opponents before you fade off into the sunset. Do what legendary icons like Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, Oscar De La Hoya, Bernard Hopkins, and Sugar Ray Leonard did. Fight the best before you fade off into the sunset. Take a risk. That's all I'm asking.
So, Prophet, you don't think that Mayweather's going to take a risk? I think there's a chance that he will take a risk. Do you see Mayweather in the future taking risks like this, or do you think he's going to stay safe?
I think Floyd Mayweather Jr. actually, and I study. I'm no Freud. I'm no shrink. But I don't watch 24/7s and the Showtime reality TV that they do. I think it's called All Access. I don't watch those shows when Floyd Mayweather's on them. I study for every word that Floyd says. Floyd Mayweather Jr. in his own head really thinks he's the best fighter that ever lived. And when you ask him why, it's not because of his skills, he'll tell you. It's because he's undefeated. He'll point to Muhammad Ali's 5 losses or Sugar Ray Robertson's 14 losses. And he'll tell you he's the best fighter that ever lived. And that's hogwash. It's your resume. It's people who you've fought and defeated or that build your greatness. Muhammad Ali wouldn't be called, quote-unquote, the greatest if he didn't battle Ken Norton, Joe Frazier, and the best fighters at his weight class at the time he was champ. And I think Floyd wants to appease his own ego. He really wants to retire undefeated. He'll claim that he's better than Rocky Marciano because Marciano retired 49-0. And I just told him...
Something's wrong with that. Prophet, hold on a second. Prophet, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I keep hearing background sound. Richie, are you there still, Jones?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you guys hear the background, or is it just me? No?
I just hear Prophet.
Okay, good. All right. Hopefully it's not on the radio because I want everyone to be able to hear this. All right. Finish up, Prophet. We have about a little less than 4 minutes.
Well, real quickly, that's basically it. I don't want the fans to think I'm a Floyd hater. I love Floyd Mayweather. He's one of my 6 or 7 favorite fighters of all time. I just don't want to see him go out this way. I want him to fight the best. I want him to take a risk. If fans want to argue with me on social media, you can follow me, Richard Solomon. My handle on Twitter is BoxingProphet68, BoxingProphet68. You can tweet me, whatever it is you want to do, and I'll argue with you all day. Floyd Mayweather is a talent that comes along once every generation. He should be appreciated, but he owes it to the fans to fight the best before he retires. And I'll just leave it at that.
What about you, Richie? You have anything to say? Any shout-outs to anybody? Or?
Well, in regards to Floyd and Broner, don't be surprised if after Broner's fight with Malignaggi, and Broner's going to beat the pants off of Malignaggi, and don't be surprised after that fight if all of a sudden the cozy relationship between Broner and Mayweather fades, because they know that whenever I go out and I talk boxing with people, the one fight they talk about since the Pacquiao fight went away is Broner and Mayweather, and I really think I think Broner will clearly beat Malignaggi. He'll probably get an easy fight sometime at the end of this year, and that will probably be the first big fight of Mayweather's 2014 campaign.
Hello?
Did we get everybody? Prophet, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm losing. The audio is not working very well today. You guys have to wrap this up. I want to thank you, Boxing Prophet, to come on today. I want to thank you, Richie Jones. It's been really a pleasure being with the two of you. Great guests, Lucia Rijker and Diana Prazak. You guys have a great day. All right. Well, maybe I'm losing you already. All right, you guys. Bye, guys. Thank you. See you next week. And you guys have been listening to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. I want to thank you for listening. I hope the audio hasn't been too harsh today. We'll work on that one. This is episode 13. You can Twitter us at Real Combat Media or on Facebook, Real Combat Media, or go to www.realcombatmedia.com. And it's been a pleasure. We will see you next Tuesday, and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.